It's at the top.
No. It's on the second floor.
It was magnificent. Later we went to the Louvre. I'd always dreamt of seeing the Louvre. We arranged for a private tour. Thank God. Imagine all those crowds. I couldn't do
They
it.
just want to know where you got the macaroons, sweetie.
I'm telling them.
Yeah, you're feeling the story full of unnecessary details.
Awkward to say the least. I totally relate to this poor guy here. It's also awkward that this is a movie that I haven't seen yet I'm making a video about. The only non-awkward thing about this whole fiasco? Adam Driver's cable knit sweater. When Adam Driver wore this hand knit sweater in that really weird film, House of Gucci from 2021, the internet took off. The Daily Dot reported that 8 months after the film's release, the sweater was still one of the film's premiere looks. And indeed, an internet search will show that even now, 4 years later, people are still yearning for that Adam Driver sweater for their very own wardrobes. Of course, this isn't the first time knitwear has stolen a movie's thunder. According to High Snobbity, cable sweaters have starred in films since the early 60s, and pretty much everyone knows about that Knives Out sweater. To this day, movies continue to showcase some stunning Aran sweaters, and for good reason. They fit the body so well. Like the costume designer for House of Gucci explains, Adam Driver is the only actor wearing an Aran sweater rather than the film's signature Fair Isle sweaters because it was the only style that could comfortably fit his body shape. So having knit the cerulean sweater from Devil Wears Prada, which also has cables, I of course wanted to give this one a shot, even though it was obviously a lot more intricate. Like any devoted knitter would, I said, hold my beer. Okay, more like stubbornness, and I don't actually like beer, it's just a saying, okay? If you couldn't guess, this project involved a lot of trial and error, a lot of frogging, a lot of determination, a lot of sitting on the couch, and a lot of rain. If that sounds interesting, join me as I attempt to knit Adam Driver's House of Gucci sweater using just the crazy ideas in my little head. My name's Morgan. I'm a knitter and aspiring author living in North Carolina, and on this channel I share my love of spinning yarns with both needles and pins as I knit recreations from modern and historical eras and popular films to tell a story of how the garments are made, all while showcasing the small beauties of North Carolina. I also sometimes share the progress on my upcoming novels, so if any of that sounds like your cup of coffee or tea, I invite you to pause for a moment with me and create some stories, both old and new. Thank you for being here. Let's spend some time together. For this project, I decided to use Stitch Please 100% superwash merino wool. I love this yarn. I wish you could just reach through the camera and feel how soft it is and how it glides over your needles like butter. I got mine from Premier Yarns, and no, this isn't sponsored. I bought this with my own money and just really like their yarn, though I really should be. Now, based on the size of the cables that I could make out from the video, I think this sweater is actually knit with a sport weight yarn. So that means my sweater is going to be slightly thicker since I'm using a DK weight, so that just means I won't have as many cable repeats. And here's what I mean if you're new to knitting or to sweater design. So the thinner the yarn, the more stitches you need to take up a certain space, and the thicker the yarn, the less stitches you need to take up that same space. Let's use inches for the sake of this example. If the original Driver sweater, say, had 6 honeycomb repeats over 6 inches, my sweater is going to have 3 honeycomb repeats over 6 inches because my yarn is thicker. I'll get into the math a little bit later, but that's my overall premise for now. Like I did with Hathaway's Prada sweater, I first did as much preliminary research as I could on the costume designer, how the sweater was knit, and any and all images that would show me how it looks. Well, despite as a Google search will show how the internet went gaga, pun intended, over this sweater and tried giving options of where you could purchase a similar looking sweater, not a replica mind you, have minimal photos, like 2, and no info on how it was made, save that everything Driver wore was handmade, which is nice, but what about the sweater? So figuring out how the sweater is designed was, well, quite the hassle. Wait, is that honeycomb? No, honeycomb, please. Let's see if we can find another picture here.
Few moments later.
Okay, it's not honeycomb. Okay. I mean, stuff that I can't do honeycomb because I can, I don't prefer it. can do it. Just want people to assume.
No, I can do it. I just don't like that you assume that I can do it.
It's on the sleeves and the back. Dang it. Okay, that's not gonna be fun. So why haven't we given this hardworking knitter some credit? I found the costume designer online, like a ton of interviews for how she did everything, and there was nothing about the sweater. Everyone was just crazy over Lady Gaga sweaters and the fact that Adam Driver had everything made for him, suits and stuff, but like we don't talk about the sweater. That's so sad. I mean, this lady spent hours knitting the sweater and probably designing it. Let's give her some credit. There's not even any good pictures. It's all just like the front view. Like, if the sweater was so amazing, why didn't we get more pictures of the sleeves and the back? We only get literally the timestamp here. Less than 3 minutes of the sweater is even in the movie. So I might have been a little exasperated, but as a knitter, I really do find it disappointing that the costume designer hired a knitter to design a sweater specifically for Adam Driver, but neither the name of this knitter nor any quality photos of her amazing designer showcased, especially since the sweater is only on camera for less than 3 tiny minutes. I am fully aware that this is the downside for all costume designers, knitters, and tailors alike, but I still find it very sad to see consumerist Hollywood not give a small acknowledgement to the hardworking crafters that make the clothing come alive on screen. Once I had analyzed the stitch pattern the best that I could with the sparse online pictures and the short clip from the film, I practiced various cable patterns to figure out which one best matched the center braid on the front part of the sweater. As you saw, I incorrectly assumed it was a basket weave stitch, and after hours and hours of searching through my cable stitch pattern book and YouTube videos, footage I've left out for the sake of time, the pattern I believed looked the closest is the Saxon braid. A little later, I'll explain why I think the original design is a modified version of this pattern, but it's the best I could do and is the one I decided on. And I made the teeniest of swatches to figure out how many stitches I was getting per inch because I have no patience for this sort of thing when I want to cast on. And I also made one for the honeycomb stitch to see if my stitch gauge changed that much when working a cable pattern. Again, a small one because patience is a virtue I'm working on, alright? So I showed in my Devil Wears Prada video the math for figuring out how many stitches you need to cast on for self-drafted patterns. If you are new here or a knitter learning how to design patterns yourself, I'm going to run through it again quickly in case you find it helpful. I noticed a few people commented it on my last video that they enjoyed that I added that, so I wanted to go ahead and do it here too. I do have timestamps if you want to skip to a particular part or just skip this one. So I measured my swatches to see how many stitches I have in 1 inch, and then I can multiply that number by my desired finished garment width. I want my sweater to be 23 inches wide when I'm done. This is knit flat, by the way, so not 23 inches in circumference, 23 inches flat. My gauge is 6 stitches per inch, and if I multiply 6 stitches by 23 inches, I get 138 stitches. Now this is a multiple cable stitch pattern throughout the sweater. 138 stitches is how much space I have to put all these multiple cables. So now I have to figure out how many stitches each cable pattern should use to evenly fit across 138 stitches. This is the part that takes a lot of finagling and recalculating, but what I like to do is prioritize first the cable pattern that have the largest stitch count. So for example, the Saxon braid I used had to have a minimum of 24 stitches, whereas the honeycomb stitch, for example, and pretty much all the other cables were multiples, so like multiples of 4 or multiples of 6. So I made sure that I had 24 stitches exactly for my Saxon braid because that was non-negotiable, and with my 114 stitches remaining, I spent some time figuring out how to evenly divide the rest of those cables over those 114 stitches. I believe that makes sense. I'll be happy to chat about it in the comments if you have any more questions, and this is also why I like to sketch my designs even though I'm no artist, because it helps me to see how the cables need to be set up, and I can more easily determine which stitches need to be added or subtracted based on my math. It's moments like this where I appreciate my mom explaining to me in my homeschool years that math will in fact come in handy someday, so thanks, Mom. recipe is for the ribbing of this sweater, because of course he wears it tucked in the entire time. We don't ever see the bottom of the sweater, and there's no pictures that I've already described. But anyway, I noticed that the ribbing for the wrist is quite thick. And when I mean thick, I just mean in length, right? It's very long, very deep. And I'm imagining then that it has to be the same for the body, because typically with sweaters, to create a balance, whatever the length of the bottom and the front panels is, it's also the length of the ribbing, you know, for the sleeve, and typically also for the collar. Oops, hit play. For the collar, because I want it all to match, right? But this is obviously a turtleneck, so it's not going to be as long. It doesn't appear he has it folded whatsoever. It looks pretty seamless going to the garment. In fact, I can see now right here where the honeycomb is going into the ribbing, so it's definitely not folded. So what I'm thinking is to make the ribbing of the body pretty thick, right? So I'll do the ribbing on the wrist like his. Also, what I'm thinking is, because it's tucked in, he has to have a deeper ribbing. That's just what I would imagine, so the sweater would fit well. That's just how I imagine it and what makes sense to me, so we're gonna go with that. When the back measured 23 inches long, I started the short row shaping for the shoulders and the neckline, which will make the drop shoulder construction flow nicely on the shoulder. Now this sweater is actually from my sister, who is 5'11". We're pretty tall in my family, and she wanted this to be an oversized sweater, so 23 inches on her is 1 inch below her shoulders, which is the room you need to have before shaping short rows, from what I understand. Like with my Moby sweater design, I follow Jill Wilcott's method on how to do the math for short rows. It was a brilliant article that walks you through the process step by step in a very easy to follow format. I bookmark it and I reference it constantly, so I 10 out of 10 recommend. I have that linked for you in the description if you want to bookmark it yourself. Sorry for the often yellow lighting throughout this video. Not only is it getting much darker much sooner, but I also don't usually get the time I need to dedicate to my projects until later in the evening. So I know this is not the most aesthetically pleasing, but this is a showcase of my real life, and hopefully most of you can relate to that. This sweater is very interesting. Unlike Erin's sweaters I've seen before, the front pattern doesn't match the pattern on the back at all. You might have caught that at the beginning when I was figuring out the design. Typically, I don't include in my videos how I knit the front for the sake of time, but since these are two very different patterns with very different problems, I thought I'd include it this time around. Hopefully this isn't getting too long for you. I cast on the same number of stitches as the back and knit 2x2 ribbing for the exact same length, which is 20 rows. Because the stitch pattern for the front is different than that on the back, I did have to recalculate the math for stitch placements like I did earlier, but with a different pattern. Right off the bat, I made a mistake in my pattern, cue my annoyed pencil tapping. So I ripped that back and started over, which was unknown foreshadowing to upcoming and never-ending front. I like how this is turning out. Especially with how the Saxon braid is working up. But I feel like what my problem is in comparison with everything else. Let me see if I can actually show you. I know it's white on white here, so this might not be the best angle. But my diamond stitches, probably help if I had it turned the right way, wouldn't it? Okay, here's the diamond stitches. I'm not liking how small they're going to be. Where these red markers are is wide they'll get compared to the other sizes of the cables. What I was trying to do is make space around these slip stitches, as you'll see in the original design. But when I block this, I know it's going to stretch and that gap is naturally going to show anyway. So what I'm thinking about doing, well, I've thought of it. What I am going to do is I'm going to omit how many purl stitches are around these slip stitch and add them to my diamond, the center of my diamond, to make them wider. While my plan to widen the diamonds worked, I messed up the Saxon braid. These two knit columns were supposed to be twisted earlier and wound into the braid, and I also noticed that these cables here, I think they're called wide cables maybe, had too many rows before the twist. I also wasn't liking how my crab cables looked, so all of it had to be ripped out and done yet again. Roughly 4 hours later, everything was looking much better, and I proceeded knitting for many more hours. It's too beautiful of a day to not be out here. Don't know if you can see those falling leaves back there and all just down in the creek. There's so much beautiful nature. It's just, oh, it's such a lovely day. I love North Carolina in the fall. If you look at the image, it appears to me that at some point on the Saxon braid, again, mine's not aligning perfectly with the original, but this is my best replication of it. It looks like there's decreases, right, going this way to shape the neck, and that they stop roughly halfway on this cable here, because you'll notice half the cable continues along the shoulder edges. I think I'm at the right length for mine, because if you look at the images, it appears to me that the decreases are probably happening before the shoulder shaping. And when I measured this, it's actually right now 22 inches. And in the back panel that I made, this was 23 inches before I started shaping for the shoulders. So that would make about sense to me that I have an inch left before I start shaping for the shoulder. So I have a roughly 1 inch to work with the neckline. So to figure out how much wiggle room I have, so to speak, to shape the neckline, I'm gonna figure out how many stitches I'm getting per row, because I have my stitch gauge width-wise, but I, for some reason, never calculated my row-wise. funny. It's the only quiet place in the house at the moment. If you live with at least one person, you know what I'm talking about. But anyway, I was in here because I just wanted to show you that I've already made a mistake. Well, not already, because I've been making mistakes this entire time. But I don't know how I did this. I started doing short row shaping on both the right side and the wrong side for this right shoulder, because when I did the back, that's what I did. Well, when I'm about ready to wrap this up, I realized, this looks funny. You might be able to tell it's kind of forming a triangle shape, right? It's going in like this rather than curving like a shoulder. And it occurred to me, well, yeah, duh, I had to do it on the front and the back, so the right and the wrong side, because this is one big piece. It's accompanying two parts, right? So as you see here for the back, of course, it needs to make that triangle shape. But here, I need to make a, what shape is that? When it's like half a I mean, I guess it's a triangle. It's just like a reverse triangle, like in math. I never was good in math. I don't know, but yeah, I need to go like this. So I only need to be making the short rows on one side, not both. Anyway, I just wanted to point that out because I like sharing my mistakes, because I'm a human being. We all make them. Don't think that designing a sweater means you have to already be a wizard and never make mistakes. I wish that were the case, but it's not. So let's take this back, start over, only put the short rows on one side of the work. Here we go. stitches for the sleeves using my 16-inch circulars, but I didn't like how I was getting these gaping holes between the edge of the sweater and my pickup.
A new ball of yarn for our working yarn here. We're working on the right side of our garment.
This happened to me before in my Tortured Poets cardigan remake, which you can watch up there. So I knew that these holes would only get larger as more weight was added to the sleeves, which happened in my Tortured Poets cardigan. I went to YouTube and found an excellent tutorial which showed me what I was doing wrong and how to correct it, and I have that linked in the description if you want to check it out because it was just that helpful for me. What did we do before YouTube, right? Then I mapped out the cable pattern for the sleeves and did the math with the different stitch patterns just like I did earlier. I also forgot to mention that I did measure my sister to find the exact armhole depth, so that's how I figured out how many stitches I needed for the sleeves, just in case you were wondering. Here's where a lot more frogging happens. Frogging round 1 is when it quickly became obvious that my honeycomb stitch wasn't centered and that I had confused a couple of the cable patterns. So I went back to the video and the few images to try to get that pattern right. Frogging rounds 2 through 14 happened when I realized the pattern on my sleeve wasn't quite matching the 2 seconds I spotted them on film. I specifically messed up where the 2 decrease rounds would happen in the 2 different panels of straight stockinette, and my stitch count wasn't matching the pattern repeat again. So I made sure to do some more math after frogging. As you can tell by my reaction, I was pretty frustrated and tired by this point, but I persevered and got there eventually after 15 plus tries and probably almost 2 hours of starting and stopping. I also watched a video on YouTube that helped me calculate when to start decreasing for the sleeve taper and how many stitches to do that, so I'll link that below because it's very helpful, especially if you want to write your own patterns. Pretty. Oh, I am so, I don't know, sometimes I can't believe I did, it sounds prideful, but if you did, you understand. Like, you just can't believe you did this sometimes. Wow. Now, as I mentioned, this is for my sister, who has longer arms than me, and I'm planning on blocking out this sleeve, so it fits just right on me. On her, I'm gonna have to lengthen it out. It's also why it's a little bit fitted more on me. Okay, so hello, very precarious bookshelf, but real quick, I just wanted to show you what I was going to be changing in this sleeve. First of all, I love it. It's turned out so good, if I say so myself. But what I want to change about it when I start the second sleeve is the placement of the honeycomb cables. So currently, and you might be able to tell, this is where the seam is, where we join the shoulders. And the honeycomb cable is not exactly centered. As you can see, the center would be more right here of the stitch pattern, and the seam's going right there. So it's ever so slightly, but I notice it. And I want to actually get this more centered with the seam. I just think that'll look better. Instead of having to like redo the entire pattern, all I'm going to do is I'm going to omit some stitches that I originally had for the stockinette stitch panel and add them here to the honeycomb. So for example, this has to be a multiple of 6. So I'll take away, let's say, 6 stitches from the stockinette panels So what that will do is it will widen this out, get it centered like I want, and the stockinette portions will just be a little bit smaller, which will be fine because I think these are kind of big anyway. And no, I'm not going to redo this entire sleeve. I don't think it'll be that noticeable, but we're gonna give it a go. So let's do the other sleeve and the collar. And at last, the final assembling begins. So here's the final look in all its cable glory. Like last time, I'll share on the screen some of the sparse images from the original look so you can compare Adam Driver's with mine. Let me know how close you personally think I got to replicating this sweater, and be prepared because I may have gotten a little overboard with the footage because after working on this for 3 months, I was so happy to see the finished design. I couldn't get a good look at the back of the sweater, I think this matched Adam Driver's pretty close. Personally though, I just love the look of this sweater, and my sweet sister has already worn it so much already, including in public where I've heard it's an attention getter. If you stuck around this long, thanks so much for watching. If you liked coming along with me as I designed this sweater, please don't forget to hit the like button, as we're told it helps the algorithm in some way. Do all the YouTubey things like subscribe and share if you so please. And thank you so much to all of you who have recently subscribed and left comments on my shorts and latest videos. When I post this video, we're currently a little over 900 subscribers, which is so awesome to me. So thank you, and thank you for leaving your comments. And finally, I know it takes me 1 to 2 months to post a video on here due to how long it does take to design and then knit and then edit all the footage and all that stuff, but I will be posting in the near future a video of myself knitting Chris Evans' cable sweater from the Knives Out movie. You know, the one I hinted at earlier in the video. So subscribe and stick around for that because I think you're gonna like what I'm planning. All right, I'll be quiet now. Until next time, happy making and God bless you guys.